Okay, so Ghana's economy has just reached another major level. Let me explain. You see, Finance Minister Forsen has presented Ghana's 2026 media budget review, and this changes everything. Now, let me make you understand this better. You see,
Ghana has officially become a $100 billion economy, making it the 8th largest economy in Africa. Even more surprising, the financial minister announced no new taxes in 2026 media budget. But before you celebrate, here is the real question. Will this actually put money in my pocket?
It is the emerging of the African man. The emerging. European Ghana, the activation has already begun. So we can all see that.
Exactly.
So we are about to enter into the...
Welcome back again to the channel. This is another news from the motherland Ghana. Ghana has finally gotten into another stage economically. When I tell you guys that country past country, there are countries that are trying so well, that are doing so well to see that their country is moving. We all were here last year when the cedis supersedes the dollar, that IMF was even crying and begging Ghana to please reduce, their currency. But Ghana said no, the dollar cannot be higher than the cedis. So recently there's a major breakthrough for the Ghana economy. When it comes to the economy of Ghana, it is skyrocketing. And super thanks to the president of Ghana and Forsen, the finance minister. They have been doing something tremendous in Ghana that I want you guys to look and see this video. Watch from the beginning to the end to understand the major breakthrough that is happening in the Ghana economy that other countries in Africa need. A lot of countries in Africa has not even reached this stage. But Ghana has gone beyond this stage and they are moving forward. There are countries that are even chasing foreign investors from their country because they don't want foreigners to stay in their country again. But Ghana is welcoming a lot of investors, a lot of business opportunities that's going to foster the economy. Let's take a look at some of these videos, and please don't forget to hit the like button, subscribe and share.
Okay, so Ghana's economy has just reached another major level. Let me explain. You see, Finance Minister Forsen has presented Ghana's 2026 media budget review, and this changes everything. Now, let me make you understand this better. You see, Finance Minister says government has outperformed its own fiscal target during the first half of 2026, despite facing several economic risks. Now, here's what most of you don't know. You see, Ghana's economy had to navigate global uncertainties, including geopolitical tensions that threatened to push up global oil prices and increase the cost of imports. You see, the country was also exposed to risk from commodity markets because Ghana depends heavily on exports like cocoa and gold. Now, any major falls in these export earnings could have reduced foreign exchange inflows, weakened the cedi, and affected government revenue. But according to the finance minister, despite these challenges, Ghana's economy performed better than expected. Now, real GDP growth reached 6.4% in the first half of 2026, exceeding expectations. Inflation also dropped sharply from 13.7% in June 2025 to 5.3% by June 2026, which government says is a sign that economic stability is returning. The finance minister says, and I quote, "Ghana has now overcome what economists describe as the original sin." Now, beyond the economic numbers, the finance minister also used the presentation to defend the government's economic reset agenda. He said, and I quote, "The NDC government inherited an economy on its knees." He argued that under the leadership of President John Dramani Mahama, Ghana's economy is stabilizing and the country has moved away from what he described as an economic crisis. The minister also stated that Ghana is now recognized as the 8th largest economy in Africa and assured Ghanaians that the country will not return to what he called the economic emergency room. However, the government acknowledges that lower inflation does not automatically mean people are feeling richer. As the finance minister said, and I quote, "Low inflation alone does not fill an empty pot, because whilst prices may be increasing at a lower rate, many households are still dealing with high food prices, expensive rent, and pressure on incomes." Now, one of the biggest announcements from the budget review is what was not introduced. Despite weeks of speculation, government announced no new taxes. Instead, finance minister says the focus will be on improving tax compliance, expanding revenue collection, and ensuring the country can finance its own needs without additional pressure on the citizens and businesses. Now, here's what most of you don't know. You see, government says it has already seen results from these measures. According to the finance minister, tax revenue increased after abolishing taxes like the e-levy, while AI-powered custom reforms have increased monthly custom revenues by approximately 17%. Now, on fiscal management, government says it remains on track to achieve its end-of-year fiscal deficit target of 1.5% of GDP. But why is this important? You see, a fiscal deficit represents the gap between government revenue and government spending. When the deficit reduces, it means government relies less on borrowing to finance its activities. The minister also announced that Ghana is not rushing back to the international capital markets to borrow. According to him, government wants to first consolidate economic gains before considering another Eurobond issuance, reducing the risk of expensive external borrowing. Government says reducing borrowing has already produced savings. Now, according to the finance minister, improved fiscal performance helped the country save approximately 4.2 billion Ghana cedis in interest cost within 6 months. Now, the argument from government is that spending less on debt servicing creates more space for investment in in infrastructure, social programs, and economic development. Another important announcement concerns Ghana's domestic debt. The government confirmed that the 7th coupon payment under the domestic debt exchange program, worth 10.8 billion Ghana cedis, will be paid fully and on schedule. Officials say this is aimed at rebuilding investor confidence and showing commitments to meeting domestic debt obligations. But Ghana's debt challenge is not yet over. The finance minister warned that the country must repay about 111 billion Ghana cedis in domestic debt exchange program bonds over the next 2 years, describing debt management as one of the major challenges Ghana must continue addressing. The budget review also highlighted social progress. Now here's what most of you didn't pay attention to. Government says nearly 950,000 Ghanaians have moved out of multidimensional poverty between late 2024 and late 2025. You see, multidimensional poverty does not only look at income. It measures access to basic necessities such as healthcare, education, clean water, electricity, sanitation, and decent housing. According to government figures, the multidimensional poverty rate have fallen from 24.9% to 21.9%, meaning government believe nearly 1 million people will now have improved access to essential services. But this is where the debate actually begins. The minority in parliament has challenged government assessments, arguing that economic statistics alone do not reflect the daily struggles of many Ghanaians. They argue that many households are still facing difficulties with cost of living, businesses are still under pressure, and more practical measures are needed to create jobs and provide immediate relief. The opposition's argument is that economic recovery should not only be measured by GDP growth, inflation figures, or debt indicators, but by whether people can afford basic needs, find employment, and improve their standard of living. Government, however, believes foundation for recovery has been established, pointing to falling inflation, improved fiscal discipline, stronger revenue collection, and progress in reducing poverty. So the debate is no longer just about numbers. It's about whether those numbers are translating into real improvements in the lives of ordinary Ghanaians. Because at the end of the day, an economy is not only judged by what happens in parliament or financial reports. It is judged by what happens in markets, homes, businesses, and pockets of citizens. So now the big question is, what do you think? Let us know your thoughts in the comment section. Don't forget to like, comment, and repost this video for more content like this.
So the IMF made a statement targeting gold-producing African countries, explicitly telling them that they should treat gold as a high-risk reserve asset. And one could say this was specifically tailored towards Ghana, as they are aggressively buying up locally produced gold from artisanal producers. Some of this gold, which would have had its value seeped out of the Ghanaian markets due to smuggling. The IMF argues that these African countries should not deem gold as a safe and favorable asset due to its bullish market value, claiming that these are temporary market valuation gains known as paper gains and not an accumulation of physical stability. They also made mention that gold is ill-suited when it comes to crisis and the countries need immediate liquidity, hinting that these African countries should put more dependence on the purchase of foreign currencies like the United States dollar and euro for quicker liquidity flows. So you mean to tell me that immediately the IMF realizes that African countries are now holding onto their natural resources and buffing up their central banks with these natural resources, aka gold, instead of foreign currency, they want to tell them that gold is invaluable and they should place more dependence on the United States dollar and the euro. The biggest reason as to why most African countries' currencies are so undervalued is because of this foreign exchange between the United States dollar and the local currency. Most of the world's critical resources are priced on the international market in the US dollar. And this wasn't by mistake, this was deliberate. Let me explain what I mean. In 1974, following negotiations between the US and Saudi Arabia, the petrodollar scheme was created, basically to stabilize the global economy after the 1971 gold standard collapse. The United States agreed to provide military protection to Saudi Arabia, and in exchange, Saudi Arabia would price oil exclusively in the United States dollar, and they would invest their surplus profits back into United States treasury bonds. And basically what this meant is that oil import dependent countries would always have to have United States dollars in their reserve. So in a situation like this, where the United States are having conflict with Iran and the price of oil is consistently surging, African countries have to spend so much of their local currency to buy expensive United States dollars, and this massively exposes African countries to immediate inflation and a continued poverty. The best alternative here for dollar for oil would be gold for oil, because even the United States themselves hold the highest reserve of gold in the entire world. And historically, the gold has backed the United States dollar. And pretty much the reason as to why they stopped the gold standard was because there was a run on gold from foreign countries wanting to convert United States dollar back into gold. So if the IMF is so concerned about African countries buffing up their reserves with the gold, why don't they go to Western countries to tell them to do the exact same?
Ghana has officially become a $100 billion economy, making it the 8th largest economy in Africa. Even more surprising, the financial minister announced no new taxes in 2026 mid-year budget. But before you celebrate, here is the real question. Will this actually put money in my pocket, reduce prices, create jobs, or is it simply good news on paper? In the next 10 minutes, I'll break down everything you need to know in plain English so you understand exactly what this budget means for your finances.
Unlocking Africa's Wealth Code. Money Code Africa.
One may wonder, what is a mid-year budget review? Many people hear mid-year budget and immediately think it's a new budget. It isn't. Think of it like a school report card. At the beginning of the year, government sets targets. How much money to collect, how much to spend, inflation target, economic growth target, debt reduction plan. Halfway through the year, government returns to parliament to answer one simple question. Are we on track? This year, the review was presented by Finance Minister Dr. Kaysel Atuforsen on 23rd July 2026. To make everything simple for you, I'm going to focus on the biggest announcement. Announcement number 1, no new taxes. This was probably the headline most Ghanaians wanted to hear. The Finance Minister confirmed no new taxes will be introduced in the mid-year review. Why is this important? Because businesses can plan better, consumers avoid another round of tax-related price increases, investors gain confidence because tax certainty reduces business risk. However, no new taxes does not mean governments won't continue improving tax collection. Expect stronger enforcement of existing tax laws rather than introducing brand new taxes. Biggest announcement number 2. Ghana is now a $100 billion economy. This sounds impressive, but what exactly does it mean? It simply means the total value of everything Ghana produces annually has now exceeded $100 billion US. This milestone makes Ghana the 8th largest economy in Africa. You may wonder, why does this matter? A larger economy often attracts foreign investors, international businesses, manufacturing, infrastructure projects, better access to financing. But remember, a bigger economy does not automatically mean everyone becomes richer overnight. Economic growth must translate into higher incomes, more jobs, lower inflation, better living standard. That's the real measure of success. At this point, you would like to know, what does this mean for the ordinary Ghanaian? If you are an employee, there are no new taxes reducing your salary immediately. If you're a business owner, tax stability allows for better planning. If you are an investor, a growing economy generally improves long-term investment confidence. But if you are looking for work, economic expansion could encourage companies to hire, although job creation depends on how growth spreads across different sectors. The announcement is positive, but investment shouldn't focus only on GDP size. What these indicators over the coming months: inflation, exchange rates, interest rates, government borrowing, fiscal deficits, public debt, foreign investment inflows. These will determine whether today's positive headlines translate into lasting economic improvements. But if you ask me, here is my take. The absence of new taxes send a reassuring signal to businesses and households. Crossing the $100 billion mark is also an important milestone for Ghana's economy. However, these achievements matter most if they lead to tangible improvements such as stable prices, more employment, stronger businesses, better investment opportunities, higher household incomes. Those are the outcomes Ghanaians will ultimately judge. The 2026 mid-year budget delivered 2 major headlines: no new taxes, Ghana is now a $100 billion US economy and the 8th largest in Africa. The coming months will show whether these developments improve everyday life for households and businesses. If you found this breakdown useful, hit the like button, follow us on Facebook, subscribe to Money Code Africa on YouTube for straightforward explanation of Ghana's economy, investing, business and personal finance. I would also like to hear from you. Do you think Ghana's growing economy would improve your personal finances, or do you believe more needs to happen before ordinary citizens feel the benefits? Leave your thoughts in the comment section. Let's discuss, and I'll see you in the next one.
It is the emerging of the African man. The emerging. European Ghana, the activation has already begun, so we can all see that.
Exactly.
So we are about to enter into the final stages of that. I saw over 19 trillion of discovery in Ghana. Those in the middle of Bono Ahafo to Northern region, you see that enclave, that like Bono Ahafo, Northern region, that central point. It is not a joke. I don't know what that thing is. I don't know what kind of stone it is. I don't know what is that kind of thing is. Whether silver something, black, it looks some darkest silver something. I am saying trillions, trillions. And it was not dealt with by, how do you call it, foreign companies. It was Ghana. We were handling that. I don't know what that is. I don't know what it is. But whatever that was, it took us to the next stage of negotiation, next stage of operation. Because I began to see certain people, like certain strange machines coming from the port, and they were driving it all the way there. Some were coming from Takrady, some, and they were moving the machines, strange mining, some sort of heavy duty machines. It was, I've never seen anything like that. It was as like huge as you can imagine, like vessels, and they were coming into the country and they were dealing with those things. So prepare yourself for a big shock of the whole century, as the Lord leads. In Ghana, the whole Africa, that thing will become the biggest breaking news in our history. Yes. Now, the next one, that's why I'm saying that it is the emerging of the black man. So if you're a black man now, trust me, your skin, especially if you're in Ghana as well, will make a lot of sense to you. Next one, I told them they should lay more emphasis and then pay attention to the Ghana passport. They should make it impossible for middleman operation or illegal operation, because what is going to happen is that there is a lot of push going to start happening in Ghana. Because you wake up one morning and then things will begin to change. Children will begin to get paid. There will be incentives given to people. I don't know we are China people have been, because they are royalties. They discover, especially those people in the Bono Ahafo, close to Kumasi and Tamale there. All those children there, most of them will take royalties from that angle. We are about to enter into a different phase that any mining, any gold, you will be paid for it. So it will develop the face of the country. Wow. That's the next stage. You see what I'm talking to you right now? It will look like a movie, but it is the fourth dimension. It is your reality. You will live in it.
All I am saying here is a country that wants something good for their own country. All I am saying here is a government that is working so hard to make sure that their country is of good standard. The president of Ghana, John Dramani Mahama, is doing his best. Even the finance minister, Ato Forsen, is also doing his best. I know a lot of you say the best is not good enough, but when you check out other African countries, you know that Ghana is trying their best. Ghana is actually trying their best. Let me know what you think in the comment section. Please kindly share this video and like.